Hey, good morning you all. Welcome back to the channel. I sure have missed everybody. In this video you all, I'm going to show you a trick that you can use, that anybody can use that has not been able to successfully make a forge weld on something. Let's say that you're trying to make a tomahawk like this tomahawk right here. I just forged this tomahawk here last week. I went on a hike down in the Bluestone Gorge to the little old town of Lily. You've seen me do that on video before. And I found an old spike down there, you all. And I've been seeing these things. Back up there so I can see it. There was an old spike down there, okay? Now, let me get around here. I hope you all can see it like this. It's kind of dark. I'll get you a better view of that. Anyway, this is now this, okay? But this was pure wrought iron, you all. So we know that pure iron doesn't have any carbon in it, okay? So what I done is I brought the thing home, I forged welded it back on itself 2 times. It was about, I don't know, 12 inches long. I forged welded it back 2 times. In other words, just flopped it over and welded it. Then I hammered it out and inserted a piece of steel into this blade right here so that you would have a good, sharp, hard cutting edge. And that's the way tomahawks were made early on, okay? In the beginning, when they finally come up with carbon steel. So I'm going to show you how to do this, but I'm going to show you a trick that I learned years ago and explain how it works so that you understand the forge weld. I get that fire there really good and hot. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to my friend Eric Philippi up in West Virginia, who come by to see me here a few days ago. And Eric is a blacksmith that I've introduced on the channel before, and he brought me this pig sticker right here. Very nice. All right, see that? EP, Eric Philippi. Beautiful knife. Sharp as a razor. I think that's it's high carbon steel. It's probably a piece of spring steel or something, a leaf spring. But Eric is really a really good bladesmith. He's a good blacksmith as well. All right, you all, one of the first things I want to tell you, if you're using coal or any other, product like wood or stuff like that, charcoal or anything, you want to make sure that you clean your fire completely out before you start to try to forge weld. Any kind of trash in your fire is going to stop your weld from sticking correctly. Also, go down to the bottom of it, you all, and clean out your ash pan so that you're not blowing ashes straight up on the thing that you're trying to weld, because that does happen. So you want to make sure that you have a really good clean fire. When you go down to the hardware store, you all, and you buy you some pieces of metal, you order them online, whatever you do, there is mill scale on that piece of steel. You see it right back here, okay? This is where it's been manufactured. It comes off the line and it's got that coating on it. That will cause your weld not to stick, okay? Now you all, you know that if we have to bring these 2 pieces out of the fire separated and slap them together, that they're going to cool down too much unless you're really quick and have a helper. Them pieces of metal is going to cool down too much for that. I don't care how big it is either. So we got to stick them together, right? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take a welder, you all. Now, you can tack them together, but I'm going to show you the way that I found out, you all, to make this work and this weld will stick through and through the very first time you hit it, and it'll stay stuck together. What we're going to do is we're going to take my welder over there, and we're going to weld this seam all the way up. We're going to weld it here. We're going to weld it here and here. Well, Mike, that's cheating. Yeah, it is, but guess what? It works. And it works every time if you get your fire, if you get that piece hot enough, okay? So I'm going to take it over here to the welder, and I'm going to weld this seam up. And I'm not going to do a fillet weld, like, you know, real deep. I'm just going to do a drag weld right down that seam right there with my stick welder. All right, you all, what I've decided to do is I've decided to take this, that other piece that I had there was a piece of scrap stainless. I never get any success trying to weld it to a piece of common iron. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, just like this is the bit for your axe head. All right, I'm going to take this and flip it over, and then we're going to weld this in it just like we're making a bit in an axe. All right, let me let that cool down. So I'm going to just bend this piece right here over. All right, you all, she's welded up. See how I did that right there? And that's scale right there. So I'm just going to go over here to the anvil. Knock the scale off of it. All right, you all, here we go. What we've done here is we've created an environment to where the oxygen that's coming up through this fire can't get to the surface area that you want to weld, okay? That's what your flux does, by the way. But this way, you can make sure that oxygen cannot get to the surface area that you're going to weld. Now go into the top of your fire. That's just a little piece too, you also won't take it that long. All right, you all, right there's the object that we're going to weld. It's in the top of the fire, okay? The reason you want it at the top of your fire is because more oxygen, the deeper your fire, the more oxygen is going to get burned up before it gets to this piece of material right here. Okay, so let's bring that up to the welding heat. Now you all, when that thing comes to the welding heat in there, I've showed you, sometimes it's take you a little flatten out coat hanger and stick it to your metal, and when that sticks to that piece of metal, that means the outside of that piece of metal has come to the welding heat. But what you want to do is you want to leave it in there a few more seconds, a minute more, so that the welding heat goes all the way through your object, okay, and not just on the outside of the thing that you're trying to weld. So there it is. one of the things that causes your weld not to stick, you all, is the fact that you wait too long from the time, or you're too far from your anvil, from your fire. As soon as you bring that out of the fire, you're going to start losing the welding heat, just like you pull the welding rod back off of your machine over here, okay? That's what happens when, just as soon as I bring it from the fire, if I'm like 4 or 5 steps away from the anvil, I'm going to lose that welding heat. So you want to be as close as possible with especially smaller things, so that when you bring it from the fire, you're going to come to the anvil and you're going to hit it. Now what we're going to do here after we get this welded, forged welded, you all, is we're going to cut it apart, and I'm going to show you that it forged well. See how that's going together? Now, the more you hammer out your item like this, if this was going to be a tomahawk, the thinner that weld's going to get. When you start to grind, you're going to grind that weld off of there that you put on there, okay? Alright, you guys, you see where I took the angle grinder and ground that down and split that? What we're going to do now is we're going to go over here. We know that that's welded right here, okay? We know that this edge has been arc welded. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the grinder and we're just going to grind all the way around that right there and see if that separates. Alright, y'all, you can see where I ground it back. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cut this piece off right here so it's separated from this whole chunk. Alright, there's our piece, you all. Now one thing for certain, you all, when you cool something that you've just done like that right there, if it's got any separation, when you cool it, you're going to see it, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grind this down really pretty, you all right? Then we're going to beat on it with the hammer over there right on the anvil and see if it comes apart. All right, you all, there's that chunk of metal right there that we just welded. So you can see there, what we've got there, you all, is 3 weld joints. Remember that, okay? That's exactly how you insert that bit in your tomahawk and weld it up and make it work right. So let's hammer on this and see if it comes apart. Hope you all can see that. So now the 3 joints are one, you all. That's one of the tricks that you learn over the years, especially when you're just by yourself and you just ain't got a clue. So weld it up, keep the oxygen away from that joint, and you can make the prettiest tomahawk. Just by inserting that piece of steel into that soft metal and doing the very same thing you just see me do right there. Alright, you all, that's forge welding 101 my way. If you can't figure out how to get it done in your little old dinky forge, if you're not getting it hot enough for one thing to make it come to the forge welding heat, it ain't going to work. But if you will weld up those joints just like I did right there, and bring that thing up, I don't care how dirty the fire is, you can still get it hot enough to make that thing forge weld in the center of that piece of object that you're trying to make. So that's just a little forge welding demonstration for beginners and us people who's been doing it now for years. Okay, there's times in forging, you all, that stuff, I don't care how pretty you make the joint or anything, that joint will fail on you. I mean, I've had it happen many times. I usually don't show that stuff on video, but I have it happen, okay? That stuff will fail. But anyway, you all, I really appreciate you sticking with me on my channel. This is going to be a long video, so hang in there with me, and we'll show you just exactly how this works. God bless you all. Have yourself a wonderful day.